Okay, you guys ain't gonna believe this, but I went in there to download the news for Friday. I thought I had it done, but let me put it this way. If I had it done and it was in a file, I can't find the file. So we're going to do it live, we're going to do it over. Villages news, I'm just going to pick 2 or 3 stories at random because I'm really busy to getting some other things done. Here's one. Villager consults lawyer after unwanted visits from community standards. Yeah, I know what it is. Somebody turned this lady in. She lives on the historical side about something in the yard. I forget what it was. Anyway, the community standards guy for the community development districts, the CDD, came by and gave her this letter saying she had to get her property back into compliance by a certain date or something like that. Apparently she didn't, I guess. Maybe I should read this, make sure I get the facts right, so somebody doesn't make a comment about how I got everything wrong. A villager consulted lawyer this week about unwanted visits from a representative of community standards, a resident of the village of Silver Lake. That's probably the oldest village in all of the villages. In 2015, installed 16 security cameras at her home after some racial conflict. I don't believe any of that. Sometimes these people with this racial conflict thing, I think they just make stuff up because they know that if they throw that out there, it's one of them things where people don't want to touch it. And so they just walk away from it. And they get by with stuff. I'm not that guy. She also put up signs indicating there were security cameras at her home and consulted community standards to ensure her signs were in compliance. The security cameras I know can be an issue because some people think they can put up all the security cameras they want, and you can. But if your security camera is constantly pointing at a neighbor and you can watch what your neighbor's doing 24/7, that's called something, and I forget what it is, but so you may have to dial the camera down a little bit so to kind of cut it off at your property line there a little bit. Anyway, the villager filed a police report this month claiming that a community standards representative showed up at her home and demanded that she take down her security cameras signs. So apparently the cameras are okay. It's the signs in the front yard, and you're not allowed to have signs in the yards in my district, which is District 10. She's in Silver Lake, so that's probably around District 1 or 2, and so their rules there might be totally different than here. I don't know what those are, but apparently by this story, she's not in compliance, and they have a rule about having signs in the yard. He allegedly told her the signs were not in compliance with deed restrictions. She explained to him that she had consulted community standards 5 years ago to ensure her signs were in compliance. You know, I've had to call about some things also. And if you do it by email, they email you a response back. The smartest thing to do is to either save that response in a file on a phone or computer, or do what I do if you want to. I print it off, put it in a little file that I've got about something I'm wanting to do. That way if there's ever a question, I have the letter from the deed restriction people telling me I could or could not do something. Just saying. Same community standards representatives returned to her home the following day and left a deed compliance violation notice on her door. The woman had refused to open the door. When he had knocked, she called community standards to make a manager aware what had transpired. However, the next day she saw the same community standards employee driving slowly past her home. Let me just say that this employee doesn't do anything on his own. You're on the list of compliance problems, and he's got a boss, and you're in his territory, and he's doing he's doing his job. So your problem really isn't with that guy. You need to get in your car and go down to the CDD office, which is right behind the fire station and that old farmhouse there on, what is that, Bonita Trail, Bonita Pass, something like that. That's where it is. I work there. You need to go in there, and you need to talk to whoever you need to talk to get this taken care of, because that's the guy. Or maybe you can go over to the Savannah Center, because I know some of the cars and things are being kept up there. You might be able to go in there. But I would go in, knock on a door, and talk to somebody face to face about the problem, instead of all this whiny stuff that you make to people on the internet and in making police reports. The cops don't have no authority over any of this. He hasn't broken any laws, so you're wasting your time here. She told police she has video images of the community center's employee. She told villages-news.com she has consulted a lawyer for her protection. Protection against what? Villages-news.com is not identifying the woman or her address due to the sensitivity of the situation. See, it's that racial thing. Nobody wants to touch it. I will. I ain't scared. Villages whose family conflict. Headlines again. Let me read what this is. Villager whose family conflict made headline reports theft from his residence. A villager whose family conflict has made headlines for more than a year has reported a theft from his residence. Charles Newman, I already know who this is, reported to the Lady Lake Police Department that a motorcycle was stolen last week from his home at 1813 West Swartz Boulevard on the historic side of the Villages. The historic side up there is really starting to turn into a problem area. I'm just saying, it is what it is. The stolen motorcycle is described as a 1984 Honda 500cc. That's an old one. Motorcycle is black and has a license plate indicating it is an antique, according to the incident report. The 83-year-old villager made headlines last year in his ongoing conflict with his daughter, Susan Newman. And I don't even go any further. Here's the deal. He's got a daughter that came and lived with him for a while. She in turn brought her son, his grandson, which at the time I think was around 8 years old, give or take. She has a drug problem. They got into this big argument about, I don't know what, probably the grandson more or not. But apparently she had stole some things and sold them for the money to buy drugs and things like that. I'm shocked, aren't you? And then she got a boyfriend. And this boyfriend, his past history, he'd been in jail several times because of, guess what? Drugs. And so he has a problem. Somehow, some way, and I don't get all this, she got him thrown out of his own house so her and her son could live in this house. Eventually that got overturned in court. She had to go. He took responsibility of the son. Probably some legal thing right there. And now the people up there are upset because there's like a 9-year-old boy living full-time in the Villages that specifically states in your deed restriction that nobody that's less than 19 years old can live here full-time, period. I mean, that's just the way it is. And they're upset about it, as they should be. And so my only thing is, let me make a little comment about children in the Villages. You'll see all kinds of comments about this. And it isn't that anybody here hates kids. Nobody here hates kids. I don't hate kids. But this is a retirement community. We didn't move here to deal with children and bicycles in the street and all this kinds of stuff. We didn't. This is a retirement community. We all signed paperwork saying we would follow the rules. We all received a copy of these rules. People will tell you they never got them. We all received a copy of these rules. And if you didn't receive a copy of the rules, somebody gave you an internet site to go to where you could download and print out a copy of the rules. I got them twice. I've owned 2 houses here and I got this stuff twice. And I was in District 10 when District 10 was brand new. And we're south of 466A. And I got them here also. So when somebody says they don't get them, they don't have them, I just kind of have a hard time swallowing it. They can't play dumb and go, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Well, you should have known. So ignorance of the law, as they say, is no excuse. And here, our deed restrictions is basically the law. He has that child living here full time. It shouldn't be there. He knows he's not supposed to have that child there full time. So this is why we don't like children living here. Because the problem never goes away. He's had trouble with his daughter 2 or 3 different times. He got thrown out of his house. He got back in his house. Then he had to get her trespassed from his property. And then they went to court again where she wanted to have visitation rights to this child, which I don't know how that's working out. She had a druggy boyfriend that came there. I think they stole his golf cart once. Maybe they found it, I don't know. It's just this. Once the kids move in and they all have these problems, mental problems, drug problems, 45-year-olds that can't seem to find a full-time job and hang on to it. I mean, it's just these problems. These problems, as long as that child's living there, never goes away. They just take breaks, and then there's another problem, and then it takes a break, and then there's another problem. It just goes on and on and on. I know people that's actually sold houses and moved to other areas because somebody next door was a constant problem, and so they just decided they didn't want to deal with it anymore. Just saying. Take it for what it's worth. An anonymous social media tip led to an arrest at a popular night spot at a town square in the Villages. Sumter County Sheriff's Office received a Facebook tip that 21-year-old John Wesley Lanier of Wildwood was at Margarita Republic in Spanish Springs, at Spanish Springs Town Square, and he was wanted on a warrant. The information was relayed to the Lady Lake Police Department, and officers located Lanier at the popular night spot and confirmed he was wanted on an outstanding Sumter County arrest warrant and was duly arrested. Okay, I think that's about all I'm going to read today. So, you guys subscribe to Skip and Sue's RV Adventures. I need subscribers. And these videos of the Villages will probably be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a while. I'll get a Sue and Deb restaurant review in here on Thursdays once in a while when I get a chance. Right now I don't have anything. So until then, I'll see you guys on the other side.